Our second Hall of Fame inductee is a man who needs no introduction. His name is synonymous with the tiny brewery from Chippewa Falls that became a national icon for Wisconsin's North Woods. His name became even more well-known in advertising circles when he became the folksy spokesman in some of Wisconsin's most iconic TV and radio spots of the 80s and 90s. Today we know him as the senior White House advisor for the Veterans Administration, but for the last 30 years, we've known him as simply Jake. Here's a look at the amazing career of the former Leinenkugel's president, Jake Leinenkugel.
When you're named after the founder of the family company, there are undoubtedly some big shoes to fill. For Jake Leinenkugel, it meant getting back to basics.
I started out scrubbing floors at the brewery when I was 17 years old and making beer cases and then learning from the bottom up every facet of the brewery.
After college, Jake took part in another family tradition, serving in the United States Marine Corps.
I learned a lot of things while I was in the Marine Corps. The biggest thing about myself personally is I found out I could do a heck of a lot more than what I thought I could.
My dad was running the company at the time, and he asked my brother Jake to leave his Marine Corps career in the early 80s, come back to the brewery.
I did a little bit of everything. I like to refer to myself, though, as strictly a beer guy. Nothing more, nothing less.
By the time Jake took over the family business in 1987, Leinenkugel's beer had long been a Midwest staple, but regional beers were struggling. In 1988, Leinenkugel's was purchased by the Miller Brewing Company. It became Jake's job to take the brand national. With leadership, vision, and sheer perseverance, that's exactly what Jake did.
The one that probably is the most memorable is the one that my father did locally, and it was, how do you spell Leinenkugels? And they went around to various people with the local TV crew, and some of them just absolutely destroyed it. I remember one guy saying, I can't spell it, but I sure love Leinenkugel beer. To me, that was a memorable point for us to later extend into bigger, better campaigns that I think we kept the essence of who we are. A friendly brewer in the North Woods of Wisconsin, conveying a message that we love to get together with family and friends and enjoy great beers together. And then it's all about the great outdoors, which certainly the North Woods of Wisconsin truly exemplifies. Every campaign was started with the whole thematic of the Leine Lodge. The Leine Lodge can be a reference point for not only here in Chippewa Falls, but in your home, in your garage. Your favorite bar or restaurant, I'm going to my Leine Lodge to enjoy my Leinenkugel beer.
Jake retired from Leinenkugel's in 2014, but his influence will live on as long as people can pronounce the name, Leinenkugel.
My father had always passed along something to all of us within the family. If you want to get involved in the business, by all means, show that you mean it, that you have passion, and that you're willing to put in the work. So I think it's a little bit of that mentality, to not let the name take over and create an ego.
Family descendants of those that are working in this business today, I'd like to see them creating great beer 150 years from now.
The strongest message, I believe, is having family members involved. That is what beer drinkers get the biggest kick out of. Oh my, there really are Leinenkugels. There really is a person behind the brand.
Now to introduce Jake, I would like to welcome another fifth-generation Leinenkugel to the stage. He works closely with the Leine's brand team and team in Chippewa Falls, and he also travels around the country educating retailers, distributors, and drinkers about all the great Leinenkugel beers. Please welcome Jake's brother, John Leinenkugel.
I was wondering what I did. Now Gary Miller reminded me what I do. Good evening, Wisconsin. How are you? You're looking good. You would all be looking better if you had a bottle of Leinenkugel's 150th anniversary lager in your hand on your table. This is our first ever collaboration brew to celebrate 150 years in brewing in the great state of Wisconsin. And we thought it would be pretty cool to collaborate with a brewer that had a little bit more brewing experience than Leinenkugel, so we collaborated with the Hofbrau Brewing Company that has 400 years of brewing experience in Munich, Germany. So before you leave tonight, if you have a safe ride home or you're walking anniversary lager, Leinenkugel's, you'll love it. I don't know who is more nervous, Jake or me, considering he has no idea what I'm going to say. It's Jake. It's the beauty of having younger brothers. Jake would be the first to tell you he wouldn't be where he is today without his wife, Peg. And unfortunately, Peg Leinenkugel isn't with us this evening. She's in Washington, D.C. hosting some former beer distributors from Milwaukee. So how does that work? Jake has 3 passions in life. His family. Jake and Peg and their 4 children are all carrying on the Leinenkugel name. They make up the 6th generation of our great family, and they share the passion for beer that they learned from Jake, and they're all working in our company and beer business today. Jake's second passion is his country in the United States Marine Corps. As you saw in the video, Jake learned leadership from his experience in the United States Marines. Jake loves and is passionate about Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine. There is no such thing as a former Marine. And today, that passion has brought Jake out of a sunny and warm retirement that was filled with days chasing a little white ball around a desert golf course, to now our nation's capital, where I promise you, my older brother has never worked harder in his life. Working hard every day to bring change to the way our veterans access and receive the care they so richly deserve. Jake, thank you. And of course, there's the beer. Leinenkugel's beer. Always a passion in our family. For over 25 years, Jake led Leinenkugel's through its marriage to the Wisconsin-based brewer, our father, Bill, knew and respected the Miller Brewing Company. Jake didn't accomplish the success or the brewery's success alone. We were lucky to have some great business partners. From Miller Brewing Company's leaders, agency partners like Young and Rubicam, and Milwaukee's own Laughlin and Constable, and our longest LNC, there you are. You guys were the first, by the way. And our longest running agency, Jacobson Ross, from right here, started in Sheboygan and now in Milwaukee and Chicago. And of course, our beer distributors. Many of these folks have joined us this evening. Thank you. They started their time as a business partner, but they became and meant so much more to Jake and all of us at Leinenkugel's, as these folks truly became members of our family. Folks, I believe nothing says Wisconsin like Leinenkugel's. And nothing says Leinenkugel's more than my brother Jake. Jake, I love you, and while it may not be baseball related, congratulations, you are now a member of a Hall of Fame. Jake Leinenkugel, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. And, I wrote out a very nice talk while I was on the flight here, Southwest Airlines, that was serving Leine's Oktoberfest. So I was happy at the time writing out the remarks, and my God, John used everything that I had. So I can be brief. But I do need to say, if there's a fire marshal in Wisconsin right now, you're right, the Milwaukee Ad Club has over-delivered tonight. And everybody involved in this event, in this great recognition of three individuals that have done some neat things and have had great people behind them, I thank you so much. This is just a great honor. For me, it's humbling, and it's to the point where when I reflect, I really don't deserve it. So I look at the Hall of Fame being to the Leinenkugel family, starting back 5 generations ago to my great-great-grandfather, who came over from the 6th generation, of course, from Meckenheim, Germany, with a lot of our ancestors in this room tonight, in the 1840s to 1860s. And established places in Milwaukee, Madison. In our case, it was Sauk City on the river, and they brewed beer in the 1840s. And very few people realize that. And Matthias taught his sons how to brew beer. And 5 of the sons went out throughout Wisconsin, and Jacob partnered with his best friend and said, there's a lumbering place about 200 miles north of here, and I can't even imagine back in 1867 going from Sauk City to Chippewa Falls, where there was only 2,500 lumberjacks and no women, to open a brewery or to think about trying to establish a brewing place. So the Hall of Fame really is for the entire Leinenkugel family and for people that have been around it, mainly consumers that we've connected with, and also our partners that are ad agencies. And that's who a lot of you are. You're agencies that do great work. Because by God, if I wasn't in Wisconsin, I'd be moving to Wyoming or Maine in a heartbeat from what I've seen tonight. I mean, that's some good stuff. Yeah, butterfly farts. Yeah, I guess that works for me too, right? I mean, again, I love anybody that gets into the business. And all of you have competitors, and we work hard, and we're creative, and we do things. In my case, I'm a Hall of Fame member from the ads only because of great people. Great people that have become friends and mentors over the years. And one of them was my youngest brother that was just up here. John I was driving a car when John was born, okay? It's the youngest brother. But John was the most creative, in my eyes, as far as branding, and as far as marketing, and as far as advertising of any of the Leinenkugel family. Probably never been told that too many times, but his partnership with various agency folks, I think most of them would say, he's the one with the eye. He's the one that's got it when it comes to advertising and doing things. And so, John, thank you as the youngest brother and the youngest member of the team. I also want to thank my father. Is a huge influence because he did things in the advertising world back when you just had local TV. That was the sports announcer or the weather guy, right? That liked your beer at the time and said, hey, Bill Leinenkugel, I like your beer so much, I'd like to do a free spot for you. And that's how we got started back in the 50s. When beer and TV really started to come together, and I know looking at this crowd, there's very few of you that know what I'm talking about. But Friday night fights, there's a few of us that remember that, right? Pabst Blue Ribbon, I think basically owned that right here from Milwaukee. But that's when you started to see big beer advertising, and that's when little breweries like us went, uh-oh, something's coming, because they never went into our backyard. The 60s, still okay. The 70s, huge disruption. Huge mega media advertising with our competitors that were in St. Louis, Washington, Minneapolis, Milwaukee. Well, they're never going to come up into Little Chippewa Falls. They all came. They all came with big marketing campaigns, big dollars, and they were all pretty darn good. But remember the Hams beer, Sky Blue Water? That was 90 miles from us. Most breweries our size went out of business during the 70s. And my father and the family prevailed because we had a product and he had a belief that the more people that you meet and the more people that you connect with in a nice and gentle way, the more people will drink your beer. And I think that has carried over to the 5th and now to the 6th generation. And it's also been a part of people that have been committed to that and have helped us along the way. Tim Pretch, Young and Rubicam, Steve Laughlin, and John Constable, God bless them, from Laughlin Constable, that have done a lot from our start. Certainly to Jacobson Ross, who spent a lot of time with Jerry Flemma and Steve Fernald up at our brewery to really understand the essence of who we were and to understand our consumer and our drinkers, that differentiated us by having a family now of 6 generations that no brewer in America can really talk to or talk about, and to make us connect with beer people in a very unique way, about sharing fun, family, and friends as a community around beer made in Wisconsin by a neat little brewery in the North Woods. That was the essence of the message. It's true, it's authentic, and I'm proud to say it's who we are. Nothing more, nothing less. But it's the grassroots essence of sincere brewing love and for our state of Wisconsin and for our beer consumers. There's also a person I got to know over the last 30 years who's here tonight, who has been a big part. And when I first met him, I said, this is one arrogant son of a gun. He was a young guy, worked for Miller Brewing Company, and I got to know him year after year, and he became a very big mentor into branding, marketing, and connecting with people. And he did it with a fun way. He did it with music. He did it with a smile on his face. He's a pretty good guitar player. And he became a very good friend. Over the last 5 years, we worked very closely. He's from Milwaukee. His name is Tom Cardella. So Tom, thank you so much for always being there for us and for being a friend. The local beer distributors here in Milwaukee, got to give a shout out to them because it's the Madrigano family. Aldo and Dawn are out with my wife in D.C. right now. I missed them. They were flying out, I was flying in. And Glenn, who has Kenosha and Racine, and Barb are here tonight, and they've been absolutely wonderful for our business. Thank you so much. Also, people out there every day selling our beer, one of the best beer guys, 2 of them, that if they could tell the stories, I probably would not be up here. I'd be in jail. Mike Merriman and Dave Neville. But friends, Milwaukee Ad Club, thank you so much. This is a great honor, not just for me, but for our entire family, to be recognized as being able to connect through advertising and to be able to connect with a great group, with Gary and certainly your organization, and Joe and Laura, thank you so much for hosting us tonight to this sellout event. I love you all. Enjoy life in Leine's.